Ashcroft Boys Part 2, and we're going to start on the far right. So on the far right seated is another Ashcroft-born recruit, John Dawson Evans. Ole, as he was referred to, was one of 12 children born to Oliver and Ellen Evans. Along with the other men pictured, Ole enlisted in the early months of 1916 and gave his date of birth as August 5, 1897. He became a member of the 172nd Battalion along with his cousin, Chris Bowes. In September of 1918, after being overseas for almost 2 years, Ole confessed that he was only 17. Who would believe by looking at the photo of this tall, strong farm boy that he was only 15, actually 14 years of age when he enlisted? His attestation papers were amended to show his proper birth date as August 5, 1901. Ole returned to Ashcroft after the war and for many years worked in the logging industry. He passed away in 1978 at Mission, BC. To the left of Ole is Bob Nesbitt, another locally born descendant of a pioneer family in Ashcroft. Bob was one of the older men in the photo, enlisting at age 35. Upon his return to Ashcroft, he married Flossie Evans and so became a brother-in-law to Ole. Bob and Flossie had 8 children, and many descendants still live in the Ashcroft area. Bob worked at various jobs in the area and was the water bailiff for several years, controlling the water flowing from Barnes Creek into Barnes Lake. Nesbitt passed away in 1948 and is buried in the Ashcroft Cemetery. Seated in the middle is Frank Boyle. He was born in the Empire Valley in 1877, but later moved into the Upper Hat Creek area where he was ranching. Boyle was the eldest of the group, enlisting at the age of 37, and he was also the only married man at the time and the father of a 10-year-old son. After his discharge from the war, Boyle returned to the valley to ranch, but his health was never the same after the result of a gas attack during the war. Frank passed away in 1922 and is buried in Ashcroft. Next to Frank sits George Stevenson. According to his military records, he was the oldest son in a family of 8 children. His mother was a widow, little Lita Stevenson, née Kirkpatrick, a sister to Sam Kirkpatrick, also in the photo, so George was a nephew to Sam. On his return from serving, George spent many years in Shaughnessy Military Hospital and then returned to Ashcroft where he was born and raised. Unable to work because of a stroke, he used the hobbies he learned while in the hospital and donated them to local organizations to raffle. George was able to get around with a cane for a couple of years and looked after the Ashcroft swimming pool refreshment stand. George died in 1962 and is buried in the Ashcroft Cemetery. We're going to end the Ashcroft Boys session with John Christopher Bowes. Chris was the only soldier pictured here that did not survive the war. Chris was born in Ashcroft, January 18, 1891, the oldest son of William and Catherine Bowes, née Barnes, and a cousin to Bob Nesbitt. Chris's younger years were spent in the Highland Valley area on the family ranch. On Christmas Day, 1916, Chris wrote this letter home to his sisters. Somewhere in France, December 25th, 1916.
Dear sisters, just a line to let you know we are having a fine Christmas and fine is right. Bully beef and hardtack for dinner today, but it could be worse, but not very much for having to send to cheer it up any. We are all the same. I'm writing this in our room and it is a barn in some French town. Can't tell you all I would like to because they would tear it up. I am in the same battalion that Harry Vikstrom is, and Crazy Joe, which worked for the Thompsons. Harry and Pete Duncan send their best regards. Sam and Pete are in the same out bunch. Private Boyle, he is here too, and has cold feet. He wishes the war would end every day. Haven't got much more to say, only the weather, and it's fine. It only rains when the sun don't shine, and I haven't seen it yet. And I don't think they got a sun in this country. You want to write once or twice a month for you. Don't want to look for one from me. Only when you get one, and that will be about one a month. Well, must close for my fingers is very near froze.
March 1st, 1917, Chris was killed in action at Foley's farm, a major raid pre-Vimy Ridge attack. Chris's final resting place is unknown. His name appears on the Vimy Memorial, Pas-de-Calais, France.